Okay, here we're going to build the 5-volt regulator and the H-bridge construction on the breadboard for controlling of two motors using an Arduino. First of all, we'll begin with preparing the breadboard. So we'll take 4 short orange wires and we'll connect the lower half of the side bars here to the upper half of the side bars. There's a split along here, so we'll use a short wire to just connect the two sides. So we do that for all 4 lines from each side. Taking care to connect the red to the red and the blue to the blue. Finally, we'll also connect the red on this side to the red on this side, and the blue on this side to the blue on this side. So that's live on to live and ground to ground. Do that using the longer red wires. It's just the perfect width for the board. So flatten them down nicely against the board. You get it. Connection from both sides. That way we're consistent when we're using the board. We can tap into the red line for on either side for 5 volts, and we can tap into the blue line on either side for ground. Right, so we begin with at the bottom of the board with the 5-volt regulator. So we start off with the two screw terminal. This is going to be where you connect the battery to. We connect it into 62J and 64J. So the very end column we're going to basically put in at the very corner here. Push them down well because they're short connections there, so make sure they go down well. Have the screw terminal facing to the outside of the board like so. So we can add the battery cable later. Those battery cables will plug in there. Next we add this 5-volt regulator. Now take care looking at this. You see it there? With the metallic back on the table, looking at it from, have it facing you. The most left hand terminal is terminal 1, next one is middle one is terminal 2, and the most right hand one is terminal 3. Input, ground, output. So we're going to connect the input of the 5-volt regulator to 60H. The ground will be connected to 59H, and output will be connected to 58H, sorry. So push them straight down into it. Should go down nice and deep into it. So that's 60H, terminal 1 goes into, and then it goes back up as far as 58H. Next we go on to 3 screw terminal. There's 2 3-screw terminals. They're going to be only 2 of those are going to be used for connecting the motor to the board, the 2 motors to the board. So the first 3-screw terminal goes in 50F to 54F. So again, I have the part where the wires facing to the outside of the board, so it's easy to connect batteries to. Sorry, we'll make this one face inside the board because we're going to have all the motor battery wires coming out this direction like this. So we'll have this, if I have it facing inwards, and we'll put it at 50F to 54F. So just in against the center of it, and push down nice deep into it. So it's facing the inside of the board. Next we take the H-bridge, which is our second chip that we use. Now you have to be really careful with the H-bridge. Don't know if you can see in the camera here, but terminal 1 is to the left hand side of the little notch. So there's a little notch on the top of the terminal. See if you can see there. Might be able to see there in the light. There's a little notch just there on the terminal. Just there's a little notch. And to the left hand side of that is terminal 1. It's this one here. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, down as far as 8 on this side. Goes over to the far side, and there's 9, 10, 11, up as far as 16 on the other side of the notch. So terminals 1 and 16 are on either side of the little notch there on the top of the terminal, at the top of the chip. So we're connecting terminal 1 into 40E on the breadboard, but we're also making sure that the terminals on the chip go to either side of the center divide line in the breadboard. So we're pushing it down into 40E. It's terminal 1 and 40E, terminal 8 and 47E, terminal 9 and 47F, and terminal 16 and 40F. Next we put in the second 3-screw terminal. This is for the second motor, connecting in the upper side of the 3-screw terminal in 33A to 37A. Again, we're having the screws facing the same direction as the previous screw terminal, so it's outside of the board on this side. Push it down grand there. So there's the breadboard so far. There are all the components that are going to be going on the board. Now we have to wire them all up correctly. So first we'll start with power. We'll go with the battery power is coming in through this 2-screw terminal here, and it's going to be then going to the 5-volt regulator, which is going to provide the 5 volts to power the H-bridge and the motors. So we'll take a small short white wire, and we're going to connect that from 62G to 59G. That is connecting the ground of the battery to the ground of the 5-volt regulator. So it goes in the same horizontal row as the ground middle terminal of the 5V regulator, and it also goes in the same row as I'm looking at the left hand terminal of the 2-screw terminal, which is 62. It goes in the G column, just to keep it tidy in a straight line there. Next one is the brown one for the live. So we're going to connect the live terminal of the battery screw terminal to the input of the 5V regulator. So the 5V regulator input is this terminal here, so it's in 60, the row 60, and we're connected into row 64, which is the screw terminal. I'm going to do that in column F, so it's 64F as far back up as far as 60F. We're connecting with the short brown wire. Again, nice and tidily push them in, nice and deep there. Let's see that there now. Now we got the input to this 5V regulator. We want the output of the 5V regulator next. So we're going to connect a brown wire from the output terminal of the 5V regulator, which is in row 58. We're going to connect that from row 58I, which is the second last hole, as far as the red live bar along the side. So this live bar here is going to be connected into the output of the 5V regulator in 58I. Now, because we've got it connected up here and over here, all of our red bar now is 5V regulated. And that means it's just going to be consistent 5V no matter what the load is on it. Well, you wouldn't want too much of a load. Next we want the ground. So the ground of the battery is going to the ground of the 5V terminal. We're also going to make that same ground, the ground that is going to go along our ground terminal bar along the side. So that's 59I, if we're able to get in there, as far as the blue bar. So see there, we pushed it in flat against the board. We went from 59I as far as the blue connection over here. I just trying to keep with the blue for ground and brown for live. Haven't kept that the whole way through here, but we will just try to be a little bit consistent. Also want to try and keep the wires flat and short and tidy on the board. Next we're going to work on the grounds for our H-bridge. So the H-bridge has got 4 ground connections. They are on the H-bridge, their terminals 4 and 5 on the left, and 11, 12. No, 12 and 13, sorry. So that's on the, we'll just work with breadboard numbers, 43 and 44 on both the left and the right hand side of the board have to be connected to your blue ground. So I'm connecting from blue ground in as far as 43B, just like that. Going beside it again, 44B from the blue ground. Just nice and tidy short blue wires there now. And terminal 12 and 13 on the other side. We're going from the blue, which is on the inside this time, just in as far as 43H, and in as far as 44H. So now it looks like it's got little wings. Next step is to provide some power to the H-bridge. So terminal 8 and terminal 16 on the H-bridge are the VCCs. Terminal 16 is the one that provides, so this is the top one up here. It provides the power to power the chip, power its control. So we're going from the red connector in as far as 40G, keeping that as flat as I can there. It's a little bit too long, but it doesn't matter too much. And I'm going in with 47, so the terminal 8 on the H-bridge chip is connected to row 47. So we're going from going with a brown wire from the 5-volt bar into 47D. And that terminal there powers the motors. So that's VCC for the motors. Finally, we have to provide power to the motors. So the 2 screw terminals are for the motors. So we're going to power the outputs of the H-bridge to the screw terminals here. So we're going with a short grey wire from 42J, so from 42J to 50J. That goes over those blue wires, so it's keeping it nice and tidy, even though the crisscrossing, it still looks nice and tidy. See that connection there? And we're going with a purple wire, short purple one, from 45, I believe. Yeah, 45I to 52I. So just on the screw terminal side of the ground blue wires down to the middle connection on the screw terminal. That's providing the power to that screw terminal, which is going to be connected to the motors for controlling the motors, obviously. Again, on the other side of the H-bridge, we go to connect to this screw terminal. We're connecting from 45C to 37C with a grey wire. So down the center, push it in nice and okay, our final few connections. So we've got the grey wire there, and we want to put in the purple for the other connector and motor connection. We go from 42D to 35D. So 42D is terminal 3 on the H-bridge, as far as the center terminal of the screw terminal. So 42D to 35D. Small bit of a stretch there on the wire, so just be careful making all the connections. Push it in nicely there. And right, so we got two enable connections on the H-bridge. Those are used just to enable the motor drivers. So both of them need to be connected to live, so up to 5 volts. We're not going to be using them to help with braking of the motor or anything like that. But so we just need to keep them up to 5 volts. So we're going to use the longer red wires, and we're going to connect the H-bridge terminals. Where are we? Sorry. We're going to connect 40B, which is just here. So it's terminal 1 on the H-bridge to the live, so up to 5 volts, so onto the red, using red wire. It's a bit sticking up out of it, but we'll be alright. And we're also connecting 47G, so we're connecting terminal 9 across. So we're crisscrossing wires again over to the red 5 volt line on the side. Hopefully you'll be able to see those there. So we've got our final few connections here to be made. We've got our 4 inputs from our Arduino, PWM inputs to the H-bridge, so as to control the motors. They are connecting to 42. Let me just check here. No, we're connecting to 41A and 41G. We're also connecting to 46A and 46G. So in there. So I'm going to use 2 green wires for our 41 connections. So we get a long green wire there into 41. We get another long green one into 46A. I'm going to use 2 long yellow ones. Don't know what color these are. Into 41G. And 46G. So our 2 green wires now control one motor, this motor here, and our 2 yellow ones control this motor here. We also have to add our battery connector so to our 2 screw terminal. So we're going to do that now. You want to make sure the black wire is the ground wire. So remember, we connected the white. The wire you connected to, the terminal you connected the white wire to is the same terminal you're going to connect the black wire to. The terminal you connected the brown wire to is the same terminal you're going to connect the red wire to. So I'm just going to push them in. And unscrew them terminals a little bit better first. And screw it down nice and tightly, so that's the black one done. And there's the red one done. Now notice there's a small bit of bare wire there visible coming out of the terminals. You're going to be careful that those wires don't touch. You see it short the battery, cause the battery to overheat and damage it if those wires touched. So you don't want that to happen. Now I'm going to leave it there for now because I'm going to be careful, but I'm going to cover it up later. Now that we have the breadboard fixed, we can put it onto the robot. So we're going to use some Velcro here to put onto the robot. So just peel off the back of it, place it on there, and back of the other, peel it off and put it onto the back of the breadboard. So we're going to put that onto the top of here, and as you can see, we've got the Arduino already fixed up here in the back. Okay, now that we've got the breadboard on the Arduino, or on the robot beside the Arduino, we can connect the Arduino power to the battery from through the breadboard. So first of all, we're going to connect to the battery the Arduino from the power of the battery. Now the power of the battery is connected into row 64 through the screw terminal. The screw terminal then is connected to the 5-volt regulator through this brown wire here. So that same connection, row 60, I'm going to connect that through with this long green wire. That connection there is going to go up as far as the Arduino V-in connector. So the V-in is where the power can go into the Arduino, and that's where the power is going to be taken from, so as to control and do all the computation and the power and the control of this robot. Secondly, we also need the ground. So now the ground of the battery is the ground everywhere, so we only need to connect a short wire here from this ground as far as a ground there right beside the V-in. So the ground there right beside V-in, we can connect that little short red wire to do that connection for us. Now finally, we've also got this switch. So the reason I moved it up here was so that the switch can also control the power for the Arduino, as well as the whole circuit and the board and the motors. So this brown wire here is what brings the power from the battery as far as the 5-volt terminal. If we remove that brown wire, we can put it in place of a switch. So the two holes where the brown wire came out of, we connect in the switch wires, and that way the power is controlled via this switch over here. The two green wires, spin them around there now. We get the two green wires and the two yellow wires. They have to go over to the PWM part. Here we go. Over here. They have to go over to the PWM connections over here on the outside of the Arduino. So the motor control. So 41A and 41G, the two 46A, sorry. 41A and 46A are the two green wires. They're connecting to pin 9 and pin 10. So 41A goes to pin 9 on the Arduino. A little squiggly line beside the 9 just to say that it's a PWM output. So that's what we want. It's PWM control for the motor. And 46A goes to 10. So put that, push that in there to connection 10. That's grand and lovely job there. Now our two yellow wires there, they are 41G and 46G. They're connecting to terminals 5 and 6 on the Arduino. So 41G connects into terminal 6, and 46 connects into terminal 5 on the Arduino. So now that we've got the motor control wires connected up, we can connect up the actual motor wires. So we've got 2 motor wires, well, 4, 2 sets of them. We've got black and red on both of them. So we'll keep up to the top terminal 1 up here, just beside terminal 1 on the H-bridge. We're going to connect in so that we get black to purple. So we're going to connect in here. We got purple and we got a grey wire. So the terminal you got the purple wire connected to, you want to also connect the black one to, and the terminal you got the grey wire connected to, you want to connect the red wire to. Just tilt that up there so as you can see me putting them wires in there. Push them in as far as they'll go, and then use a screwdriver to tighten up the screw terminals. Same again with the second one. Again, they're facing the same directions. Made that mistake at the start. We want to put black to purple, and we want to put red to grey. So in this case we're connecting purple into terminal 52 on the breadboard and red into terminal 50 on the breadboard. Then into the screw terminal again and tighten it up with the screwdriver. Just put a little bit of pressure on them, then just make sure they're nice and tight in there. There are 2 final bits now to be done. First of all, there's the servo and also the IR sensor. So we're going to connect the servo in. We can connect it in anywhere up the top here. So we push them down hard into it. That wire just tidily away there out of our way. And we get 3 wires. So we connect the white wire of the servo using this longer yellow wire. So that one to connect that all the way over as far as pin 11 on the Arduino. So that's right beside one of those motor connections. We use I'm using a short purple one here just to connect. So you're connecting the red wire, red for live, red for power. We're connecting that red to red basically. We're using there via purple. So we're connecting the red to 5 volts, and we're connecting the black to ground. So I'm using a short blue wire there to connect the blue side bar there to the black connection. That's the servo powered up and controlled via the yellow wire. Our sensor, bit of velcro on the back, bit of velcro on the top of the servo. Just fix that straight on there. We'll sort out its direction later on when we're testing the robots. So we've got a black wire, red wire, and a yellow wire. Where are we? Over here. Black wire, yellow wire, red wire. Black wire is for ground, So put that in the ground wire one. Red wire for power, so we put that in the 5 volts one. And the yellow for control again, so we're going to control this one via, we're going to actually read values off this one, so we're not really controlling this, it's more reading values. We're going in here to the analog wires, so we're going into A0, connect that into A0 there. Just bend those wires back because it's putting a little bit of strain on my IR sensor there. Just be really careful with those wires because the connector on the IR sensor is very delicate. And that's all the connections. You've got the battery terminal here. I'm just going to reverse that battery around, put it down there so that the cable goes down between the motors down there. So it's come out the back. Just leave the motor or the batteries at the front, so to put a bit of weight on the front so to balance out the robot, and connect up the cables at the back. And we're ready to go.